Hi everyone, it's Lisa Mears. Thank you for joining me today. In today's video, I'm going to be doing some background stamping, but I'm not going to be using a background stamp. Instead, I'm going to be using a floral stamp set, which is called the Spring Flowers Stamp Set from Pretty Pink Posh. They're individual flower stamps as well as some individual leaves. There is a set of coordinating dies, so if you wanted to stamp out the flowers and leaves and die cut them to create beautiful bouquets, you can totally do that, but in my video today, I'm going to show you how you can take these floral stamps and make a beautiful background. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just creating my own pattern paper by randomly stamping these flowers in any random pattern on my card panel. So I have a piece of Bristol smooth cardstock. It's cut down to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Notice I have a piece of scrap paper underneath it. That's just a piece of copy paper because when I do background stamping like this, I like to stamp off of the card layer. I just think it gives a much better look than having the flowers go off of the card layer like that. The ink I'm using is the Versafine Onyx black ink. I love using that ink because it gives a nice, rich black impression. Of course, if you wanted to use a lighter ink, maybe a light gray to give a more subtle outline of your flowers, you can do that. You can even do some heat embossing with these flowers. If you wanted to do maybe a gold heat embossing, that would look really pretty, and then color that up. But I just chose to do some black. You can also take these flowers and layer them, and that would involve using a masking technique if you wanted to have your flowers overlap. But I decided to keep it very simple and just stamp a random pattern on my background. So now I'm ready to do some coloring, and I start out coloring the leaves. I'm using 2 of my Zig Clean Color Rail Brush markers, and I'm using the olive green as my dark. I just come in and put a line there over the center of those leaves with the olive green marker. And then I'm going to come in with the blender marker, and I'm just going to go over that dark line and blend that line out. On the smaller leaves, I do bring in the light green marker, and I add a little bit of the light green to have a multi-green colored look, and then I blend those colors out. So in essence, I am using 1 of the green colors on the larger leaves and 2 on the smaller leaves just to have some more variety in the colors on this card. Now I'm using the blender marker to blend these colors together. But if you had a paintbrush, you can totally use a paintbrush dipped in water. Just make sure that you wipe the end of the paintbrush on a paper towel so that you don't have too much water on the end of the paintbrush. You can also use a water brush, but the same thing. You don't want to have too much water. That's why I love using the blender marker because there's no water involved. It's just a blending solution that's inside the marker. Moving on, I'm going to color the larger flower in purple. And I'm going to color all of the larger flowers in purple. So I start out by using the deep violet just on the ends of the petals. The petals that are kind of hidden in the back, those I want to be darker. And then I put some of that deep violet on the centers of some of the other flowers that are in the back. I also come in with the lilac and add that to that deep violet, and then I come in with the English lavender to finish that blend. I will come in with my blender marker and then blend those 3 colors together. And then for the petals that are on top, I'm going to color them with a little bit of a lighter purple. Actually the same colors that I used in the previous petals, except I'm omitting the deep violet. So I will then start with the lilac on the bottom of the petal, and then I'll go into the English lavender and then blend those colors out. So for the purple flower, only 3 purple markers are used, including the blender. For the center, I am using yellow. I think yellow and purple are so pretty together. So I do use the yellow and lemon yellow for the center, and then for the little dots in the center, I'm using the sugar almond pink. And then I'm going to repeat that same process with all of the larger flowers. So all of my larger flowers are going to be the same purple colors. For the pink flower, I am going to start out by outlining in my darkest red. This is a deep red. And then I'm going to come in with Pale Rose and blend those colors together. So just going over the dark and extending that out a little bit further. And then I'm going to come in with the Sugar Almond Pink and do the same thing. And lastly, come in with the blender to blend those three colors out. I will add the deep red to that bottom part of the flower. And then for the little berries, I'm just going to color them up in yellow just to bring some more of that yellow out. And then I'll repeat that process for all of those flowers that look identical to the pink flower that I previously colored. So all of those will be in the same three red pink tones. Moving on, I'm going to color this next flower in yellows. So I have the bright yellow as my dark, and I'm adding that to the bottom of the petals, closest to the center of the flower, and then I'm going to color the yellow over top of that and extend that a little bit further, and then finish off with the lemon yellow. And for the center of that flower, I am going to use the brown color. I will repeat that process for all of those larger yellow flowers on my card panel, and then I'm going to move in to coloring up the smaller flowers, and I'm going to add some more pinks here. So I'm going to be using some of the same pinks I used in the other pink flowers, only I'm omitting the darkest pink, which is the deep red. Instead, I start with the pale rose towards the center of the flower, which is the bottom of the petals, and then I come in with the Sugar Almond Pink, which is my light, and then use the blender to blend those out. So what that does is it actually gives some different color pinks. Even though it's the same shades, it omits the darkest one to make it look like I have some darker pink flowers and some lighter pink flowers on my card front. And for the center of that flower, I do use the bright yellow. And for the very small flower, I'm using the yellow and the blender. Again, here I'm just using one color yellow to have some variation in the yellow colors on my card panel. And for the center, I'm using the deep violet. I am going to be using a sentiment from the Celebration scripts and the matching dies. There are a lot of great sentiments on this set for anniversary, graduation, baby shower, retirement, wedding, congratulations, and I'm choosing to use the happy anniversary. So I stamped out the sentiment in some black ink onto some white cardstock, and I felt that it was blending in too much with the background, so I decided to take out my yellow and my lemon yellow zig markers and color the sentiment up in the yellow. So these are the same colors that match the flowers in my card panel. So I want to layer this background onto another layer for my card, and I wanted to use yellow, but in order to match those yellows up perfectly, I decided to cut a piece of the white cardstock to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 and just color the edges with my yellow zig marker. So since that color is the same that I've colored up in the flower panel and on the sentiment, it's going to match perfectly. So if you ever are in need of a cardstock color to match your colors in your stamps, you can do this little trick by just coloring up the edges of a white panel with the same color that you've used on your stamped images. So now I'm going to add glue to the back of my floral panel and add that to the top of the colored cardstock. Next, I'm going to add my sentiment. I'm going to add it towards the bottom right hand corner, and I'm also going to add the word happy. So my sentiment reads happy anniversary, and then I'm going to add that to an A2 size white card base, which measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Last, I'm going to use some of the sparkling clear confetti mix, and I'm going to add those to my card front just to add a little bit of sparkle to my card. So after I place them where I want them on the card front, I'll go ahead and glue each one of them down. And then that's going to complete my card for today. If you are interested in any of these products, I will have product links in the description box of this YouTube video. So I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. If you did like this tutorial, please click that thumbs up button and be sure to subscribe for more card making tutorials. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and have a great day. Bye-bye.